Expo 2025 Osaka, Japan will increase trade and cultural exchanges, says Ambassador Mariam Katagum. NMPC Limited completes acquisition of OVH Energy downstream assets, promises energy security. Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (NIT) come top in the latest Freedom of Information Transparency ranking. And on Commodity Watch, oil prices jump more than 3% in early Asian trade on Monday, just as gold edged higher in Asia after capping its best week since mid-August. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Well, let's begin by telling you that the federal government says Expo 2025 will contribute to an increase in trade and cultural exchanges, as well as attract foreign direct investment into the country. Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagum, stated this during the inauguration of a technical committee on Nigeria's preparation for the Expo 2025 at Osaka, Japan, with the theme Designing Future Society for Our Lives, and with the three complementary sub-themes of saving lives, empowering lives, and connecting lives in Abuja. According to the Minister, Expo 2025 Osaka, Japan is a global event for millions of people from different countries to share ideas, showcase innovation, encourage collaboration, and celebrate human ingenuity. It therefore offers a unique opportunity for all the states and the FCT, public and private sectors, to assemble under a business umbrella where they can express themselves using their own unique cultural setting, investment ideas, and programs. The minister added that Nigeria's participation at the Expo in Japan will primarily guarantee access to over 180 participating economies and international organizations for networking, which will also serve as a valuable platform for the promotion of made in Nigerian goods and services, an opportunity she says will further expose Nigerian innovators to the world, especially in the area of fintech, ICT, and renewable energy, where young Nigerians are making a headway around the world. Now, the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (NIT) came top in the latest Freedom of Information Transparency ranking. The transparency agency was adjudged second best among 250 other agencies of government who were ranked within the year. Executive Secretary of NIT, Dr. Oji Ogbunaya Oji, excited that NIT came second behind only the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, said the ranking is a testimony of NIT's commitment to transparency and accountability, not just in the extractive sector, but also in all its internal processes by the way and manner it carries out its day-to-day operations. Dr. Oji, however, pointed out that the achievement was not by NIT alone. According to him, it is a collaboration of the stakeholders engaging in the NIT process and advocates for continuous push on the boundaries of transparency and accountability for greater achievement in the governance of Nigeria's extractive sector. The Freedom of Information ranking exercise is designed to bring public attention to the gaps in proactive disclosure of information by MDAs and encourage public institutions to improve their level of freedom of information implementation, compliance to improve corporate governance. The 2022 ranking report showed that the number of public institutions featured grew from 66 recorded in 2014 to 250 in 2022. Now, in the spirit of the Independence Anniversary celebration, Omenka Marachuku reports that the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council has taken the nation's tax compliance campaign to some notable Nigerians.
You have the corrupt tax official or tax agent trying to extort and trying to divert money from government account to their private account. You also see that people don't know when they're supposed to pay or what they're supposed to pay. So information is key. People don't know how easy it is to pay, that you can pay online, and people don't know which arms of government collect what. Sometimes when you're new in business, you don't know what state government collects, you don't know what federal government collects or local government. So those are all the elements that we're trying to put in.
Citizens will understand their responsibility. There's nothing in life that it's a give and take. If you expect something, you also have a responsibility. So together as citizens, we have a responsibility to this country, just as those who are in power. So as Yorubas would say, it takes two hands to make the hands clean.
Now, the Director General Budget Office of the Federation says globally there has been massive expansion in public sector debt amounting to more than $23 trillion, and Nigeria, not in isolation, has had to borrow to meet basic needs.
Be told, without the heightened borrowing, it will have been more difficult, more challenging to be able to cope with the two recessions that we have had to cope with in the last 5 years. The borrowing has helped us make those short-lived recessions and restore the economy to the path of growth. But one thing that we must do now is focus on our public sector revenues, growing those revenues. When we grow our public sector revenues, our debt is still within sustainable.
In Nigeria as of June 30th, 2022. A document from Debt Management Office as published by Daily Post indicates that many states have borrowed more between the first and second quarters of the year 2022. In March, the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory had a domestic debt of 4.8 trillion naira. However, this has risen to 5.2 trillion naira as at the end of June. As of the time on the review, Lagos State has borrowed a total of 797.3 billion naira. This shows that the debt profile of Lagos has increased from the 780.4 billion naira it was in March 31st, 2022. Also, the debt stock of Delta State skyrocketed within the 3-month period from 163.4 billion naira in March this year to 378.8 billion naira. This represents over 100% increase from March to June this year. Ogun, on the other hand, is owing a total of 241.9 billion naira, though it stands among the top 3 most indebted states. Ogun debt figure has marginally reduced from the 241.9 billion naira it was in March. Daily Post notes that Jigawa State has the lowest debt profile, having borrowed a sum of 45.1 billion naira. However, the debt profile of Jigawa also rose with over 3 billion naira between March and June 2022. Now, President Buhari, in what has come to be his last independence speech, talked about efforts at resetting the economy, which he attributed effective public financial management as key to early exits from recession, and we're acknowledging debt burden. Growing inflation, living standards, and increasing unemployment has present challenges. He promised to ensure that their negative effects are addressed in our policies. Our conversation will then center on what has been, what should be, and how it can be achieved. I have with me in the studio financial and investment expert Niyi Akinziju. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, Nigeria at 62. By the way, happy independence.
Very happy independence.
Okay. Well, Nigeria is 62. Well, can you take us through the journey economically?
We started off with much hope and prospect in 1960, and of course we had a focused economy, starting with a national development plan, I think sometimes in 1958 and through to 1963 when we had an independent national development plan. We were driven more or less by a competitive regional arrangement with regions focused on area of comparative advantage in agricultural products, the southwest, the southeast, and of course the north. The north was principally driven by the groundnut economy, the southwest by the cocoa economy, and the southeast by the palm oil economy. And to a large extent, we had an really impressive capital GDP, you know, as high as $3,000 per head. Unfortunately, by the time we discovered oil, immediately after of course, we discovered oil in 1956, but it didn't become a major part of our economy until 1973 when prices, you know, price of crude oil experienced a boom in the aftermath of the Arab War. And of course, much dollar, we had a surfeit of dollars, so much that at that time, the head of state at that time said that our problem was not how to make money, but how to spend it, you know. And we spent it. And we spent it to the extent that that government was able to deliver on developmental infrastructure. So we had the Lagos, we had the Lagos infrastructural development, Lagos being the capital of the country at that time, and you had a lot of road networks, expansion of road networks and all that. Then we experienced the dip. I always call our economy the economy of boom and bust. The 1973 Arab War gave us that boom. By 1976, we went into our bust, you know, and it became an issue of managing our economy, our finances, and all that. So much that the government at that time introduced what you call austerity measure, you know. We can go on, 79, by 1979, 1980, another boom. But what did we do with that boom? Crude oil price went to $45 per barrel, and everybody, you know, went haywire. We were importing virtually everything. You know, we now also repeated the mistake of between 1973 and 1976, and we started importing so much that we lost our appetite even for the basic agricultural economy that we were driving. We abandoned agriculture totally. We were importing food in their millions from other countries, and we were importing, in fact at the time, some people imported sand. Wow. into the country. And now that boom and bust went on even until 1991 during the IBB's period, the Iraqi-Kuwaiti war, you know. Then we had another boom. That boom perhaps gave us Abuja, you know, gave us the Third Mainland Bridge. So we can, of course, point to legacy infrastructural products. Now, by the time this government, the character was not different until 1999, 2000 again, when we also started having another boom, a more sustained boom now between 2000 and through to 2014. And unfortunately, again, we cannot actually point to legacy projects, you know, that we spent our money on, than the fact that we decided to go global, opened our economy, and all manners of goods started coming in. By the time the government of 2015 was exiting, we had grown our debt profile to an equivalent of $63 billion. Our foreign reserve was about $29 billion. And of course, workers on infrastructure, on roads and all that, had abandoned sites because the government was not paying them. And that was the situation the Muhammad Buhari government, inherited. And I think to a large extent, the government was able to apply the right policies, the right policies in the sense that now there was something that we've been experiencing now, but that had been managed. At that time, so many states were not paying salaries. The federal government was borrowing from commercial bank at commercial rate to pay federal government salaries. And more than that, there was shortage of dollars, foreign exchange. And the economy was suffering from an anemia, as it were. So I think the policy of expansionary spending, that the government decided to adopt at that time saved us a lot. And the general direction was to apply the economic recovery growth plan, and the whole idea was pump money into the economy, salvage the states that could not pay, lend them money at very concessional rates, get all the contractors that had abandoned their sites back, so that one, they can also employ those workers they had laid off, and then start working. And by working, they will also rejuvenate the economy around the axis of their activities, of their contracts, and generally ensure that the poor, we've had now a huge number of poor. As 2012, the number we can reference, as at between 2010 and 2012, ironically, when we had perhaps the highest form of income earnings from crude oil, we also have a concurrent, ironic, paradoxical, highest number of people who were in poverty at about 112 million Nigerians at that time, living under $1, So for the Buhari government, I think the impressive thing was to be able to float the NSIP, the National Social Investment Program. And I think that was very, very, very reactive, to the situation, as it were. And again, we now saw a movement towards, within the context of shortage, trying to deliver on infrastructure as basis of economic and financial development.
Okay. We just heard from the debt office that Nigeria had to borrow twice to survive two recessions. What's happening to our IGR?
Well, IGR, principally, what is the basis of IGR? Crude oil earnings. Anytime I just told you about boom and bust. Unfortunately, from 2015, perhaps until recently, we've experienced the bust period, in the economy, in the crude oil sector. So much that the price of crude oil, a barrel of crude oil, went as low as $23, between 2015 and 2016. And of course, that would impact our earnings and revenue. If you were earning $1 million per annum, and you now earn 200,000, it means that, of course, your spending capacity, your expenditure would be curtailed. But in realization of the need to drive the economy, the option was to secure debt. And debt that were, from my readings of the situation, debts that were principally, mostly at that time, concessionary. And the important thing was to drive the debt, invest in infrastructural development, not in recurrence. And that was impressive for us, because if you are developing infrastructure, it means that you are developing capability to earn. You are first enhancing, reinforcing the capacity of the economy, as it were, and then creating a earning opportunity capacity for the economy when the infrastructure are delivered.
I'm afraid we don't really, we've run out of time. But
Okay.
I believe there's so much to talk about what Nigeria's economic history, and we will continue to have the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, financial and investment expert, Nia Kisiju.
A pleasure as always. Thanks so much.
Thanks for being there. Gold edged higher in Asia after capping its best week since mid-August as retreat in the dollar provided some relief to the precious metal. Now let's see price of commodities.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. The final quarter of the year got off to a shaky start on Monday, with global stocks languishing at their lowest levels since late 2020, when the global economy was still reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in Asia, stocks were mixed. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was down 0.83%, and the Nikkei 225 gained 1.07%, while markets in China were closed for the Golden Week holiday. European stocks, on their part, fell as markets entered the last quarter of the year. The decline in the region comes after a gloomy trade session in Asia-Pacific markets. The DAX dropped 0.8%. London's FTSE also depreciated by 0.7%, while the French CAC was down by 0.98%. In the U.S., stocks ticked higher as Wall Street tried to start the new month and quarter on a solid note. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was 0.34% higher. S&P 500 was also up by 0.15%, while Nasdaq 100 dipped 0.2%. African markets, like their Asian counterparts, were mixed. Namibia's overall index and Ghana's GSE composite both rose fractionally, while other stocks were in red. And that's Global Market Review. I am Neka Oko.
Now, this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube. Do join us again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar.